welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the differences between the West End and tour, because there are quite a few differences and there are also quite a few misconceptions about the two that I want to kind of clear up today as well. 2 in 1 for you. If you are new here, hi, my name's Georgie. I am an actor. I've performed in the West End in loads of different shows, and I started this channel to share my tips, tricks and insights about the industry with you guys. So I do loads of backstage vlogs, song covers, audition advice, how to get into drama school videos, all that good stuff. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, click the subscribe button, turn your notification bell on, and don't forget to follow me over on Instagram as well, because I'm starting to put a lot more content over on my Instagram, much snappier bits of information and backstage stuff. Right, without any further waffling, I'm gonna get into the video. Also, don't really know what's going on with my hair today. It's got to that point in lockdown where I physically cannot wear it down because it is a mop. You know, we're all in the same boat at the moment, aren't we? To be fair, that's what my hair normally looks like, so there's not really much difference. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things. These are things that are either differences between the West End and tour or misconceptions. So for those of you that may not know, I'm sure most of you do, the West End is in London. It is kind of an accumulation of a lot of the theatres that are in central London, the big theatres such as the Palladium, Drury Lane, the Gillian Lynn Theatre, the Sondheim, the Palace Theatre. There are loads of amazing shows, long running and new shows that are on, well, that aren't currently on, have been on, and hopefully will be very, very soon. And then there are touring shows, and touring shows are either completely different shows to the shows that are in the West End, or they are the same shows on tour. So on tour means basically traveling around either the country or internationally, or a mixture of the two, and they travel around from theatre to theatre at different venues performing the show. The differences I'm going to be talking about today are kind of from the audience's perspective, but I'm also going to be doing a video on the differences for people who are performing in the shows. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a super common misconception, and that is that the cast of a touring version of the show is less talented than the West End cast of the same show. This is one I hear a lot, and I really want to clear it up here and now. So a lot of people think that the West End is where all the best actors go. That is, you know, the kind of pinnacle of your career. That is where the real talent is. And then if a show, say for example Les Mis, is in the West End, which it currently is, and then that show also goes on tour, a lot of people think that it's like a different thing. A lot of people think that it's a different process to get into the shows on tour. A lot of people assume that the people in those shows aren't as talented, or that it's kind of like a knockoff version, or it's not, I don't know, it's not the same as seeing it in the West End. And that is completely untrue. It is so frustrating when I hear people say that, because it's just absolute nonsense. The West End is great and there's so many talented people in the West End, but being in a show on tour is just, it's the same. It's the same level. Just want to clear that up now. Also, the process is exactly the same, just in every way, like in terms of auditions and stuff. I'll talk a bit more about that in the other video. But in terms of what you are seeing as an audience member, it's the same. Same level of acting, the same level of singing, the same level of dancing. They aren't hiring less talented people for tours. They just aren't. It's just not true. The same amount of attention and care has gone into every aspect of it, into the casting, into the directing, into the musical directing, into the costumes, into the set. And there's just as talented people in tours of shows as in the West End. So that is something that I just really wanted to clear up, because it's not true. One thing that is slightly different is the size of the orchestra. Something that you do have to contend with when you are in a touring show is different sized venues, different sized spaces. There are some huge touring venues, oh my god, like even bigger than West End theatres, just absolutely gorgeous spaces that are just wonderful. So yeah, you're dealing with quite a lot of different sized spaces, and quite often the orchestra pits in some touring venues are a lot smaller than the ones in the West End. And also thinking about travelling from place to place with a heap ton of instruments. So a lot of touring shows will actually have a smaller sized orchestra to their West End sort of counterpart. That's not to say that the quality is any less, see my previous point, but that's just sort of the reality of it. You do have a smaller space to work with, and you're not in a theatre just permanently and have everything set up and you can just leave it. You are moving around quite often week to week, so you're having to work with lots of different spaces, and so there will be usually a smaller orchestra to deal with these differences in size. The third difference is the set. And so if you think about it, a West End show, a long running West End show, their set will be up. that will be it. It will be staying up in position. It won't really have to be moved very often, apart from, you know, repairs, cleaning, maintenance, all that sort of thing. However, when you're touring, you are moving a lot. It depends on the show, but a lot of shows move from week to week. And so you need a set that is easy to assemble and disassemble quite frequently. So it needs to be something that's easy to transport and easy to, you know, put up and down relatively quickly, whilst also still looking really good. So they are going to be slightly different sets. That's not to say that they're any less impressive, but it's just sort of the mechanics of it, how they go together, how they come apart, all that kind of thing that will be slightly different. And again, with the sizes of theatres, they all change. And so you have to have a set that is going to be quite versatile and adapt to different spaces. The fourth difference is ticket prices. Oh, Tickets are so expensive for shows. In particular, West End tickets are super pricey. It's something that I really would love to see change. I would love there to be much more access to theatre. I think it's so important for theatre to be available and accessible for everyone. It shouldn't be a luxury, it shouldn't be elitist, it should be for everyone. It's so important, and there's something that I really would love to see change. At the moment, as it stands, theatre tickets are very, very expensive. You can get good deals, but in particular in London, they're really pricey. And that's one really good thing about touring shows, and that is that usually, not always, the show's tickets, say it's a show that's in town, if it's on tour, the ticket prices will usually be a little bit cheaper than if you were to see the show in London. And I just think that's so amazing, because as well as having to pay to get into London, it takes away that element of it, the transport and the hotel stays and all that kind of thing. And it means that you can go and see a show that is a lot closer to you. You don't have to travel as far, and also the tickets won't be as pricey. So it's just making theatre a lot more accessible for a lot more people. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So that's one thing that, again, don't quote me, usually is different. They're still expensive, but there is usually a difference in prices for touring and West End shows. The fifth and final thing that I'm going to mention today, even though I've actually thought of a few more things, but I don't want to be here blabbing on for ages. Actually, on that note, if you have any things that you think I've missed or that you would love to mention, please leave me a comment down below. I absolutely love reading through your comments. It's my favorite thing. I do try and reply to as many as I can. I've been a bit terrible recently, I've been a bit swamped, but I'm gonna get back on it. And so yeah, please leave me a comment down below, and I would love to read through them and hear some of your guys' opinions on these. I'd love to hear your opinions on the ones that I mentioned, but also any that you would like to share with us would be amazing. And the final difference that I'm gonna mention is dates and times. So in the West End, usually shows will be on every day. It's actually changing quite a lot of late, but usually it's Monday to Saturday, and you will have an evening show every single one of those nights, and then you'll have 2 matinees, one on a Saturday and then one midweek, maybe on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. That, from my experience, has been mainly what I've done. It has changed here and there, and I know a lot of shows are now doing Sunday shows instead of like a Monday and things like that. But yeah, so that's kind of like the normal structure of a West End show. However, on tour, it's a little bit different. You still do have usually 2 shows on a Saturday, something like that, but normally you will not have a show at the start of the week, say on a Monday. Now, this is one that is different from show to show, so please don't quote me on this. Please always check when you're going to see a touring show what the dates are, because you might think, oh, I'll go and see that show on a Monday, and it's just not on a Monday. So this point is also here to sort of say, make sure you check before you go and see a show, before you plan that there is actually a show on that night. With touring shows, it does differ. But in my experience, when you're in a touring show, there's usually a day set aside for assembling the set, teching, getting everyone into the theatre, depending on the size of the show. If it's a small show, you might not need that, but if it's a big show, they normally have to spend a whole day doing that. There's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. It's not just the actors and the performers, it's everyone else involved as well, and there's a lot to do. So with touring shows, sometimes they won't have a show, say on a Monday, to allow for that technical element and to allow for getting the set in and everything all set up ready for the rest of the week. So yeah, so if you are going to see a touring show, make sure that you check what dates and times all the shows are, because it does differ a little bit to the West End. They are slightly different to each other in that way. So there you go, there's 5 differences and misconceptions between the West End and touring shows. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. I really enjoyed making it. Thanks so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. I cannot tell you. I absolutely absolutely love making these videos for you guys, and yeah, I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment down below, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if there's any videos you want to see from me, just let me know in the comments. I hope that you're all doing okay. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye!